Hello, this is Nizar Kinsella. I just wanted to talk to you a little bit about this new book on Thomas Tuchel. It's a biography called Rulebreaker, and it was written by Daniel Meuren and Tobias Schächter. The book, I think that most people would agree, when we talk about great books to read about the Chelsea manager, they talk about this one. This is the definitive one. A lot of the reporting when Tuchel was named Chelsea manager was really inspired by this book. So finally, they've translated it into English. So it's going to reach a new audience. A lot of people are going to see it. It's mainly about, Tuchel's time in Germany, specifically more Mainz. I've read the first few chapters, actually. And I just wanted to talk to you a little bit about it because I find it interesting. I didn't really have a platform for it, so we're going to pop it on the old YouTube, see how you guys respond to it. If you like it, blah, 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 leave a comment below and all the usual stuff. But yeah, I just wanted to talk to you about the book because I thought it was interesting. I was pretty excited to pick it up and see it. Just talk to you guys directly about what I learned because, hey, I know a lot about Thomas Tuchel. Speak to him every week, written about him in incredible detail, but even I was learning things about this. So kind of what did we learn? What did we learn about Tuchel in this? We learned a bit about his drills. These guys, these two journalists who wrote this book, keep in mind Tuchel doesn't approve this book, but these guys had great access to him back in the day. They used to watch his drills and, you just see how simple some of the stuff is. There's kind of two aspects to it. One, he used to change the shape of the pitch. You probably heard a bit about that. In his time at Chelsea, he used to change the shape of the pitch so the players had to adapt to problems, and it was supposed to be like a sort of subconscious thing that they would learn on the go, find ways to get around problems, and also make training sessions fun. Almost every training session was different, but a lot of the starts of the training session were quite basic. So he used to do very simple passing drills. He still does this actually at Chelsea. Very simple passing drills. Just me to you, say I'm passing to you here. But Tuchel would be in the players' faces saying sharper, faster, firmer, and that's sort of how he drove standards, because even the simple, side-footed pass, one of the easiest skills in football, he wanted that done to the highest level. And yeah, interesting. Some of the other things, learn about him as a personality. These guys used to talk to him every day, have briefings. They got to watch his training sessions, things I can't do at Chelsea because in the big, highest level of football, the journalists don't get that access, But Mainz was a lower level. It was a different time as well in football where there was more access to journalists. And he wasn't sure about himself. He didn't know if he was ready to take on a manager's job at senior football. He'd just won the under-19s championship, he'd been offered another job in youth football that he was tempted to go for at Hoffenheim under his former mentor Ralf Rangnick, who got him into coaching in the first place. He got offered the under-23s job there, but it was blocked by the Mainz sporting director. And he said, look, I'll be considering you for the manager's job. Just hang tight and I'll reward you in a few weeks. Lo and behold, they sacked the manager and give him the job. But initially, Tuchel wanted time to think about it. He wasn't sure he was ready as a coach, but this sporting director pushed him on. And thankfully, he did believe in himself in the end and went for it because, maybe if it wasn't for that moment, he wouldn't be here right now at Chelsea Football Club. Also, Tuchel turned down he was offered the Germany under-21s job, but again, didn't go for it, having become Mainz coach, the head coach there. We also find out that he met Arno Mitchells, who's Chelsea assistant manager right now, working for Tuchel. He met him at the coaching school in Germany. Those two have really gone back really far with each other. There's a few other things. Forced his players to eat dinner together. You couldn't leave the dinner table until everyone finished their dinner. So that was another thing that he did. And Tuchel was also part of a Rulebreaker society in Mainz where a load of top business people would meet. Tuchel as a coach, he would show up there with people of all different disciplines and listen to their stories about leadership and things like that. And it would inspire his work. So incredible that he takes inspiration from outside of football and brings it back in. And that just shows, you know, that he has this unique approach. He is different to a lot of other managers. That's why this book is called Rulebreaker. The last thing I want to tell you about is, you know, when he was Mainz manager, he, in his third game, I think it was, he got Mainz's first ever win in their 104-year history against Bayern Munich. No, yeah, pretty cool. But there's a more interesting story behind it, because he used an Al Pacino movie quote as motivation from, you know, Al Pacino, the great actor. There's a film called Any Given Sunday. An American football coach, Tony D'Amato, whips up a crisis team to get a great underdog victory. And yeah, he uttered, you know, they played this 4-minute, 30-second video, and he said, either we heal as a team or we're going to crumble. In any fight, it's the guy who's willing to die who's going to win that inch. You've got to look at the guy next to you, into his eyes. Now, I think you're going to see a guy who will go that inch with you. It's like a very motivational, like, kind of speech, and it ends off with, either we heal now as a team or we die as individuals. So yeah, you can kind of see that sort of approach really weaves through that everything that Thomas Tuchel has done at Chelsea. You know, the way they won the Champions League in that run was all about the team. You know, there was teams with bigger stars and stuff like that, but Chelsea's squad was a tight-knit group. They were a young team, but they were really all together. And I think that a lot of what made Chelsea solid as well in that run, you know, hard to break down, hard to score against, was teamwork. So you can see that those kind of principles, you know, survive today. So that's kind of what you get from the book. And I spoke to Daniel, who's the author, one of the authors of the book, about it. So, hey guys, just sit back and relax and watch the interview that I'm about to show you. But hopefully I taught you a few things, and hopefully Daniel now can teach you a few things too. Cheers, guys.
Well, I used to work as a sports journalist till last summer, and then I changed. But I worked for about 20 years very close to the club in Mainz 05. So I saw Jürgen Klopp starting his coaching career. And later on, I reported on the starting of Thomas Tuchel's career in Mainz. And at the time, it was possible to watch coaches in Mainz very close. Nearly every session was open to public. And so I really followed the way of both of them. And well, I was too late to write a book about Jürgen Klopp, and so I decided not to be too late to write the book on Thomas Tuchel, as he was a really fascinating coach in his years in Mainz. And later on, I followed him as well.
Yeah, brilliant. I think that was a great job, I think, to do Mainz and have two world-class coaches that have changed football now. But focusing on Tuchel, what did you sort of make of those sessions where you got close to him? You got, you know, lots of information, a lot of insight into his character and mind. Give us a little bit of an insight of those sessions that you had unique access to.
Yeah, it's as well watching the sessions and talking with Tuchel about it. He used to talk to a few journalists. In Mainz, there's not so much interest in the club. There were like 4 or 5 regular journalists who follow the club regularly. And when you saw the sessions, and he did very, very special training exercise, like he made the ground. He didn't have. He had always very little grounds, pitches, and then he formed the pitches like diamonds. Or like a watch where the sand is going through, so that he has very special purposes to make his players play like he wants them to play on Saturday. He didn't tell them we have to play in the center and then on back on the wing, but he made the pitches. He cut the pitches for forcing the players to do this. And later on, he also, in these talks, every Tuesday we talked to him, he always explained why he does this. And that was very, very special. And you could really understand the ideas he had. and he never did things twice. There were no repetitions. He always had new ideas, and this is what players on the level of Mainz players appreciated very, very much, because they saw they get better by him.
Can you just tell me a bit about the personality of Thomas Tuchel? Did you like him?
Yeah, it's not a question of liking him, or it's more the question of having a lot of respect, because he went his own way. You know, when he entered the training ground the first time in Mainz, he did work on his way. He didn't think of an alibi. He didn't think of working like, for example, a big coach would do this first session, but he did the things he thought. And he can do this because he has a very special character. He's persuaded of himself, for sure, but you have to be persuaded of yourself in this job. He is very bizarre in some kind of how behaving with other people in many ways. But I think every coach on this level has to be very special and some kind of difficult. Also, Jürgen Klopp is difficult, but Jürgen Klopp can be smart an hour later, you know? And Tuchel is more consequent, more honestly, he isn't smart an hour later. He keeps himself, and that makes him more difficult to trade with. But I think now in the circumstances at a club in Chelsea, where he has his Cobham, where he gets for his own, where he's not so much in contact with people, I think he will enjoy that, and doing the jobs at press conferences, that's fine for him. But he needs his safe space to do his work. And so I didn't really answer what personality Thomas Tuchel is, but I think he doesn't care too much about what people think on him. And you can like this, you can have respect before this behaving, or you can think, well, couldn't he be a bit nicer to people? And I think it's not fair to say he is a difficult character or whatever, but he is his own character, that's for sure.
Brilliant. And I have two more questions. What's his legacy at Mainz? Because even that youth championship that he won, never mind the European finish, they mean a lot to Mainz, right?
Yeah, the legacy is very, very, very big. You know, there have been 3 coaches in Mainz that changed a club that was nothing to a club that became very established in the Bundesliga without having lots of money. You know, it was before Jürgen Klopp, it was Wolfgang Frank, who is some kind of the teacher of Jürgen Klopp. Then Jürgen Klopp, and then Thomas Tuchel, and all 3 of them have their legacy. And the legacy of Thomas Tuchel is really you see every day in the work with the youth teams. There, all the coaches are influenced by him. Now the coach today, Bo Svensson, he was a player at Klopp for 1 year and for 5 years with Thomas Tuchel. He is totally influenced by Thomas Tuchel. He would never have become football coach if he haven't been a player at Tuchel. So the legacy is they played Thomas Tuchel football in Mainz, and in the youth teams, the way of coaching and the way of forming the young players, is totally Thomas Tuchel.
And I think the most important question for you, Daniel, to finish off is, we've got the book here. So how do you feel the English audience will take your book? How excited are you to feel what the English audience says about the book?
Well, I liked it from the first translation I got from the publisher. I liked it very much to read my own words in English. That was a great feeling. Well, and I hope the English audience will appreciate to have this way on looking on a coach very close. You know, a look you don't get anymore in professional football, especially in England, but also in Germany nowadays. It's not possible to really get insights on the working of a coach like this. and I hope people appreciate it and understand the way Thomas Tuchel works and the way Chelsea gets better and better this season to have a really great rivalry with Klopp and Guardiola in one league. And I think it can be a really great season in the Premier League with all the 3 coaches working for the championship.
No, we've enjoyed having Tuchel, and yeah, your book will only add to the legacy and legends, so it's great. But
Okay.
Speak to you soon, and thanks for your time, mate.
Bye-bye. Have a nice evening.
You too.